Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41.
Welcome to Hex and Chill. This is Kay, Shay, and Lou, and today we'll be talking about the Lizzie Borden House.
Hey witchlings, we have opened up our circle and we invite you into our sacred space and we invite you to create your own. Today we're going to be talking about the Lizzie Borden House and we are pumped.
Listen, I am super excited because Lizzie Borden, I think she's misunderstood. There's a lot of evidence stacked up against her. There's also not that much because obviously she was acquitted. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But when we were in Salem, we did a impromptu trip to Fall River because we had some issues. But I was really excited and I was like, okay, we should just do this because I had already gone. This was my second time.
And Lou, I knew a lot about Lizzie Borden as well.
I knew absolutely nothing.
Lou and Kat knew nothing. So on the way up there, we listened to Aaron Mankey about...
We love Aaron Mankey, obviously.
So I gave a little background to them because I had already listened to it. I've seen investigations there. I talked in depth.
Have you seen any of the movies?
I haven't seen any of the movies, but we talked about it when you went because you and your husband went and you had a lot of fun and you're like, you have to do this if you ever go. And I was like, absolutely. So we all kind of decided to jump in the car and go.
Yep. I drove and it was scary, but also it was fine. We ended up getting there and we're doing a little bit of construction on the house. So we had to park on the street, which was another scary thing. I think I ran into the curb. Oops. But
it's fine.
Anyway,
insurance, it's fine.
We went in. When you go to the Lizzie Borden house, you can't just like walk in through the door. You have to go to the gift shop, which is located in the back. So we got there like 30 minutes before our actual tour started. And so we went into the gift shop and we were just talking to the people that were hanging out, selling stuff. We just kind of looked around, kind of noticed some things. There was the creepy Lily doll that was in there that they received, but then also are selling, which is very
the owner was sent a doll and it was a Lily doll, and apparently it's a Dutch doll that you have for good luck, whatever, but it's like very creepy.
It's supposed to scare away like the negative energy.
So the owner had received one, someone had sent it to him, so it was in a glass case, but then they also had like dolls you could buy that were not the original Lily, but obviously close to the, I mean, I'm sure you can buy these in Holland. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm like a quarter Dutch, so maybe I should buy one and have it in my house. But it was really creepy.
I mean, it'll ward off it'll protect you.
They were saying it's more like Elf on the Shelf, but Lily on the Shelf, and you like have her move. But I would be so scared as a child if that doll moved around the house.
But she's also mischievous. Yeah. Like you're not supposed to. There's like rules. I looked it up when we were in Salem, and I was reading about it because it was super interesting. But she's also looks very terrifying.
Yes.
So then we had our tour guide come down and kind of start talking to us. I think she was listening to us talk a little bit, so she kind of already had a little bit of a backstory. Then we really just kind of jumped into the tour. In the comparison between the two, like the people that ended up buying the Lizzie Borden house, like that own it now, have done such an incredible job, like taking the story and making it a lot more palatable, because the original person who owned the house would just kind of walk you through, still tell you the story, but it was a little more, here it is, like I'm not going to add anything extra to it, do any further research, you know?
Yeah, our tour guide, Lainey, was very knowledgeable about it. She had you could tell she was a theater kid in the past.
Oh, yeah.
In high school or whatever, and she just told the story with like so much ease. There are some tours you go on where like, you know, it's scripted, and obviously this is scripted to a sense, but she knew the house well enough that if you asked her a question, she could answer it off the fly and be very knowledgeable about everything.
And she just felt genuine.
Yeah.
Like we asked good questions. She also made us laugh. We were having good conversation, and she also stayed in character, which I loved.
Oh, and also there's this, okay, we won't talk much about this, but there was one other family with us during the tour. It was a grandmother, her mom, and then the daughter. And it was so funny because if you know the Lizzie Borden, which we're going to go into details, it's a gruesome murder.
Yes.
And there are pictures you see, like
they don't hold back,
which I appreciated because I've been on tours before where kids are there and you're like, why are your kids here if you're going to make my experience less, you know, like bring your kids if they like creepy stuff, but if they don't like creepy stuff, maybe not. And this girl was so squeamish the whole time. I was like, I thought she would pass out at one point.
Yeah.
She was like, I mean, so
The
uncomfortable.
mom literally said, she's like, oh, she loves scary things. And then she starts walking around the house and she's like, oh, like freaking out, like turning away. And I'm like, oh, okay.
But the mom and grandma were totally into it. They were like,
Right.
this is awesome. And they're like, come on, you got this. So it was cute. I'm glad that Lainey didn't hold back and make it
Yes.
PG, because they were like, hey, just know there will be graphic stuff. So if you don't want to look at the photos, you don't have to, but I'm not going to like change
Right.
the storyline.
Okay, so it was really fun going into the experience. Not like I knew what we heard on the podcast, and then you make your own guesses and everything, but it was just really cool feeling like going into it kind of a blank slate. And then also going with two people who you guys might not know everything there is to know about the Lizzie Borden house, but I feel like you do know a lot, which also helped with building that relationship with Lainey, because she was like, oh, these guys are for real. So I feel like we got even more information from her, which was really awesome.
So I think sometimes going into some place and having a little bit of background knowledge helps you ask the right questions so that you can kind of get the information that you want. So hopefully our episode will do that for you today, because we're going to just jump into the background of Lizzie Borden's history and just this case in general. So obviously we've got Miss Lizzie Borden. She was born in 1860, and she was accused of the murders of her father and her stepmother, Abby. Her father, Andrew Borden, he was very frugal, but also very wealthy. This caused a lot of problems. This caused a lot of problems for Lizzie and her sister, Emma. Emma was about 9 years older than Lizzie, born in 1851. They were still very close, and they kind of commiserated a little bit because Andrew, the dad, was, not great at giving them the money that they thought they deserved.
Though, when you do the research, they weren't like in hand-me-downs, and they didn't like not get what they wanted. It was more they received lots of gifts from their father. I mean, they even had the master suite. Like they had their own big bedrooms and all that stuff, and crown molding in their bedroom. Like certain details are like they were well taken care of, but it was also he was
very frugal.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have running water, which they very well could have had, or plumbing or whatever. They didn't have electricity,
Right.
Which they just didn't have those modern touches that I'm sure all of the girls as friends would be having. I understand that plight, but then also he's still taking care of them. They did have furnaces.
Yes, they had lots of furnaces.
Yeah, there's lots of furnaces, and they still have those in the house, which is cool. I mean, but Lizzie even went on a trip where he
Right.
bought her whatever she wanted. So I think the perspective of these girls they weren't in need. They just wanted more. And also to give Andrew a little background, the Bordens were like these very rich family, but there were two kind of sets of Bordens. One that lived on top of the hill that had a lot of money, and he grew up on the side where he did not grow up with money. So what he had as an adult is what he climbed up the ladder to receive. So why he might have been frugal is that he knew poverty.
Yeah, exactly. I
know?
mean, when you don't have anything and you get something, you want to save it. You don't want it to go anywhere. I also think too, like just how society makes wealth look. I'm sure Lizzie and Emma had an idea of what they wanted or what they thought this should look like.
Well, they
knowing
wanted
that they
to
have
be
money, but
they wanted to be on the top of the hill. Like Lizzie's like motive in life was to be a Borden who lived on top of the hill. And when you're actually in Fall Rivers, like we went up to where Lizzie ended up getting her dream and having the house on the top of the hill, and we went and visited that hill, and it is a steep climb.
It is.
You're like, you literally are on top of the hill, like looking down on everyone, which is a very weird rich and the poor feeling too. Like something about being up high and looking down on people.
oh yeah.
It's also giving me very cat vibes, and we all know cats know that they're better than us.
Yes, of course. Oh, side note, I'm so sorry. This is really off topic, but I had this epiphany after you just said cat. Like I had this last night. I was sitting here talking to my sister on the phone.
I thought you were about to say talking to yourself.
I was talking to myself on the phone.
I do that a lot.
No, I was talking to my sister, and I had this epiphany because she has a black cat, and she loves this black cat. Her and her husband, like her name is Lilith. She has pictures of Lilith. She talks about her all the time. And I was like, Lou also has a black cat who she loves to death. She missed this cat so much on the trip. I would look over. She's like in bed looking at photos of her cat, and I'm like Lou. And so I'm like, maybe it's black cats. Maybe they were always like the magical familiars, the ones that were outcast. I was like, they have some kind of power.
Morgan is my familiar. He judge every time I leave to go to a podcasting thing or to a coven meeting or whatever. He sits at the door and judges me and is like, "Why are you not taking me with me?
How dare you?
How
leave
dare
me?
me, you vile witch!"
I just think that there's like certain maybe your hairless black cat has the same vibes.
Oh, she does absolutely.
But you're not like, you're obsessed with your cats, but like you have other animals that you also love. I feel like I don't know. There's something about just this specific breed of black fluffy cats.
If you were to ask my partner, if you were to ask him who's your favorite animal, he would hands down say Shay's favorite animal is Prune, who is our black hair.
We're going to do this. We're going to call him up and then we'll let you know in the comments.
I promise. He is always like, she's your favorite. And I'm like, no, she's not.
We should call him right now on the podcast.
We can.
Oh my
Let's do it.
I don't know if you can hear, but we're calling her partner right now.
Hello.
Yes, that's me.
You're going to be making a guest spot on the podcast. Are you cool with that? Do we have your consent?
We just have one question for you.
Yes, we just have a question for you. Your voice is going to be on the podcast. Do we have your consent?
Yes.
Okay. Consent is important.
All right. Out of all of our pets, who would you say is my favorite?
Prune.
And there you have it, folks. The answer is Prune. That is the black cat.
The black hairless cat. Yes. All right. That's all I needed.
All right.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
You should. Speaking of black cats, you should let Cleo in because she's yelling.
Mine's black and white, so she's got
spicy.
not the whole power of the black cat.
Yeah, you just don't love her. I'm just kidding.
There she is. She is a person.
Look at that feather tail.
We're talking about black cats. We're recording.
Anyways, if you have a black cat at home and you feel the same way, like you are below your cat, like they have more power than you do because they're a black cat, let us know, because I think it's a study we should probably. I think I'd make money if I did the study.
So.
You totally should.
I know. I think
Absolutely.
I'm going to do it. Anyways, back to Lizzie.
Back to Lizzie. I don't think that Lizzie Borden owned a black cat, but maybe she did. Who knows?
Oh, you know what? There is that black cat.
There was a black cat that is
at our house.
No. There's the black cat that actually haunts the Lizzie Borden house.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh my gosh.
What was his name?
Max.
Is it
Max? Yes, because we were like, oh, it's not Binks, because Binks is the name of the cat in Hocus Pocus.
Yes.
But they had a little black plush kitty you could buy, and we're like, oh, what's this? And they're like, oh, the owner had a black cat, and he lived here, and everyone loved him. Like, there's little like baby paw prints in the cement below the house when they like fixed some, and he passed away, and everyone there has still sees him. Like, our tour guide said the only real apparition she's ever seen in the house is of
him.
the cat. So that's so funny.
I love
Black
that.
cat. There you go. See, it was on topic. Full circle.
Full circle.
Not even off topic.
We did it.
Get wrecked.
Get wrecked. Get out of this house.
You guys can't see this, but whenever we sometimes get off topic and it's like, okay, she like motions with her hands like we're an orchestra to silence us. And then it's like, okay, and we're starting now.
Okay. Anyways, back to Lizzie Borden's story. We just talked about her dad. So he had married his first wife, which was
Sarah,
and that was Lizzie and Emma's mom.
She passed away during childbirth of their third child.
And that child also passed away.
And that child also passed away.
So he remarried Abby. We don't really know much about Abby. We don't know if she was a mean stepmother or whatever. We just know that the girls didn't like her. They didn't call her mom. They didn't treat her very well. That's kind of the history we know. We don't know if she was cruel or nice or if she deserved the hate. I don't know.
I wouldn't even say that there's evidence that Emma and Lizzie didn't like her either, just that they didn't call her mom. They didn't have much of a relationship.
Yeah. I remember something on the tour where she had said that they just didn't like her.
Well, I think it was the day of the murders when someone was like, oh, someone said something about your mom dying, and she was
She's
like,
my stepmom.
yeah, that's not my mom. That's my stepmom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of sets you up to maybe understanding if Lizzie did it, her motives might have been she wanted more money.
Well, and we also know that Abby's family, someone in her family was having some troubles, and she asked Andrew.
It was her sister.
Yeah, her sister. So she asked Andrew to help and like get them a house so that they could rent out of it. And Emma and Lizzie were mad about that because they're like, you've never given us a house. Like, we don't want to live here anymore. And there was also that tension of the girls weren't married either. And they were well past the point in society.
Yeah. I want to also like just make it very clear. Lizzie was 32 when the murders happened. 32.
Yeah.
Like, girl, you are a whole grown woman.
And it's said too that people believe that he might have kept his girls from being married because he didn't want to marry them off because of money. But that's also not proven. It might have been that these two girls just didn't blossom in society.
Well,
that's also something that happens all the time. Like,
maybe they were more woke because maybe Lizzie had this plan all along that
she was going to kill her daddy and get money
Perhaps.
and make her own life.
I honestly, whatever the motives were or whatever, Lizzie was such a badass because as a woman in that day and age, she didn't get married, which gave all of her rights away. And I don't know. I think that it's such a cool story of, obviously it's terrible because people were murdered, and I do not
condone
murder. Please, everyone hear that. But similarly to all the movies we've been watching or the books we've been reading, it's a woman taking back her power.
Yep.
In a way, I do see that in a sense, but I also think that, and we also have different opinions, so you might be able to pick that up right now. I just see Lizzie more as I think she had a spoiledness to her. She wanted more. She couldn't have more. So maybe she found out a way to get more by killing her father and stepmother. And I just don't see that's taking your power back necessarily. I see that as, because she could have just like left home and I don't know. I think taking someone's life so that you could have money doesn't feel like taking your power back, because she never really gave any indication that she wanted to really leave home. She liked living with the money that her father gave her and the expensive trips and all the dresses.
Yes.
And
as devil advocate here, in that day and age, even if she wanted to leave, what was she going to do? She didn't have a husband. She had to stay with her dad.
But tell me a story that's not better than I'm taking my power back. I left, made my own fortune, and became a rise up.
Of course.
For me, that's more of a
Absolutely.
a rumping story than
that's something that you can stand behind and be proud of. Whereas if you're going about it the shiesty way of killing people, I'm obviously not proud of that.
like if you're kept in the downstairs cellar and you are fed crumbs and she killed. I mean, it's weird. The motivation just feels like selfish.
There were also rumors, though, that Andrew could have been abusive. We don't know. There's not any real evidence, but what if what if that did happen?
And that's like the thing that I struggle with the most is like, we can sit here, we can go to the house, we can do all of this, but at the end of the day, we don't know their motives. We don't know what's going on inside their head or their heart or anything.
And I also think we always want to stand behind the woman.
Yes.
Because we are women. And I think that's the thing I struggle with you guys when we're talking about it, is that I'm always like standing up for Andrew while the girls are like, well, he could have been an asshole. And I'm like, truth. That is true. He could have abused them and I could totally be wrong. Yep. And I can say that. But at the same time, like, I think for me, what hit the mark was when the tour guide Lainey was talking about the crown molding in their room and how the only place in the house, which crown molding back then was very expensive. He made it himself.
It was very painstaking to do.
He carved it. He put it up in their room. I just don't see as a man who would do that to his daughters as someone who would hit them. And that's not saying people do.
Yes.
But it wasn't like for the world though. It wasn't like, look at how it was like just for them though.
But also
what if he sexually
abused
them?
Yeah, think about love
so.
bombing, or think about like people who, but again.
But that's all we're just jumping
would have been
to
for him.
Right.
It is. We're jumping to that he's just the villain and we're just taking that.
No.
What I appreciate is it's easy to make Lizzie the hero, quote unquote, because she was a woman in that time and whatever, and to paint Abby and Andrew as the villain. But like, you're right. They very well could have just been spoiled brats who wanted more money. There also could be so much more to it. And so I do like that. That's where I struggle, is coming down to that finality and picking that side, because it's all gray.
Yeah, I think everyone's hands are dirty here. Yeah. I don't think that there is one set of truth, because in the end, I think what your hearts definitely speak to is that Lizzie had a good life after this. She gave to animal shelters. She gave to people. She was very giving. She was a good person.
She probably did have black cats.
Yeah,
Remember, she had all of those animals at Maple Cross.
So like her last few years, I think it was like 20 more years after this or something like that, she was a person that we could look up to as women, by herself, doing her thing, giving to people. That is something that we look at her and think, wow, she is a badass. I think her road to it might have been a little bit questionable. Correct. And we're going to jump into the murders now.
Before we quickly jump into the murders, I also want to name that there was one other person that's in the household at the time. Emma, she had gone away.
Yeah, she was on a trip.
And so she actually wasn't in the house when the murders happened. So that's why she was never accused. But there was one other person who was there, who was the maid. Her name was Bridget Sullivan, and she was an Irish maid. However, she was not treated very well.
Irish were not treated well at this time.
No.
And Andrew especially hated the Irish. Yeah, so obviously he was not very nice to her.
And he did not stop the girls when they called her the name of the previous maid that they had, Maggie. So they only ever referred to her as Maggie, which was not her name, not even close. So
yeah,
I don't remember her ever saying anything that was going to make Lizzie seem like she did it, though. I don't remember her ever being like, oh, well, this will definitely tell everyone that she probably did it.
Yeah, no. The other thing was that Sarah, the first wife's brother, was there the day of the murders too. So Em was gone. Abby was in the house upstairs.
In the guest room.
She was doing some chores. And Andrew had just come home from business and was really, really tired. So he laid on the couch in the downstairs parlor room to take a nap. So Lizzie was there. She took off his boots, had him go to sleep. And through her testimony, she then left, went outside to their pear orchard, grabbed some pears, went to the barn and ate pears and looked for a certain kind of fishing line. That's her story. And while she is in the barn eating her pears, someone came into the house. They went upstairs, found Abby, who was in the guest room making up the bed that
John Morse, the uncle, had just slept in the night before.
Yes, and she was
because
there.
He came unannounced.
Yes, this
without
is
any luggage.
A weird thing, and no luggage. Just was like, "Yo, I'm gonna spend the night.
And I'm gonna talk about some cattle, maybe.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a discussion, and I'm gonna go out for the whole day and be occupied for today." So suspicious. The person came in. They brutally
murdered.
killed Abby. They smacked her in the head 17 times, and I believe other places had. I think there was
19 blows total. Mm-hmm.
And you can literally, if you are squeamish and gruesome. I mean, if you're squeamish to gruesome things, this is the point where our trigger warning should be. She had 17 in the back of her head almost that looked like number 17, which was weird. And when they found her, she was face down on the ground. Her dress was all pushed up. There was no sexual assault, but the person must have been on top of her. They literally ripped out her braid, holding her down.
It was very clear that
this was a crime of passion.
Yeah, it was very targeted.
Someone was
very
pissed.
Aggressive.
Which I'm surprised Andrew didn't wake up with all this.
Yeah, right?
Well, was he home?
Yes.
We
don't know that actually.
She just said that she was estimated killed around 9:30 a.m.
Right.
And he was out and about. And I'm pretty sure she said something about the doors being locked, so he wouldn't have been able to go the normal way. And so he wouldn't have gone up through the guest room or whatever, so he wouldn't have seen her. So he was laying down on the couch because it would have been cooler down there.
That's also weird, too, that Lizzie didn't see this, too. If she's, in the house. Anyways, questionable.
Exactly.
Anyways, then the perpetrator came downstairs, and then they killed Andrew. He got less blows to the head, but it
About
was
9 to 10.
But it was to his face. So when you see the pictures of the crime scene, like his face is gone.
His ocular bone is like completely severed.
eye's
and his
gone.
eye was just like sitting outside of his face, which
It
is
was rough.
Really, really gross.
wild. The cool thing I will say about the tour is that they have recreated these scenes.
Yeah, they have dummies.
with dummy bodies. And so if you are interested in going and you're not squeamish, whew, have fun.
They also have
Cool.
the skulls. The person that did the autopsy ended up keeping Abby and Andrew's head and like melted off all the skin and
the dead
tissue and
yeah.
all that stuff and used their actual skulls in the trial to show like where the weapon hit. They are returned to them, but like not on their bodies. Like they bury the heads next to where the bodies would have been. So we're like, maybe this is the unrest because your heads have been like taken from you. But they have replicas of those skulls there. So you can see like where the axe hit in the bone, which was pretty cool. I found those really interesting.
Yeah.
And they also had some of the books that were Lizzie's and just really cool things from the house.
Yeah, none of the actual furniture from this house exists anymore. It was put away in a storage unit and then it actually got flooded. But all the stuff there is a replica of the time period. Some of the actual stuff there is just from like Lizzie's personal collection from her other house that they brought over.
So Lizzie ends up coming back in, I'm assuming from eating her pears.
Yummy pears.
In the orchard. And she ends up seeing her father on the couch and he is
Deceased.
So she actually tells Bridget to go get Alice Parker,
Which was one of her friends.
which was one of her friends, not the police first, Alice Parker, to come and
Help the grieving Lizzie who's
Right,
sad. She needs her
right.
friend. And I think when she gets there, they're like, okay, we're going to call the police. And so,
and the doctor who lived across the street.
yes.
Right.
And at this point, has anyone asked where Abby is?
Not yet because they...
No, because I feel like Alice asks, or Bridget. And
Remember the
that's
nosy
when
neighbor
Lizzie-
comes over, like over the fence, and she's like, "What's happening?" And she's like, "Oh,
Yes.
come on
Yes,
over."
yes,
And so the neighbor comes over, and the neighbor is like, "Someone might be in the house still. Like, who? Maybe they're still in the house. This just looked like it happened,
Right.
So
And
maybe
the
we should
neighbor
go
goes
check
upstairs.
upstairs."
Yeah.
And then they find Abby's body upstairs.
Yeah. And she finds her, and you get to have the whole moment in the Lizzie Borden house if you take the tour where she can see her from underneath the bed.
Yeah.
Because
It is
there's a direct
so
line.
eerie.
As you're walking up the stairs, like there's a moment, and you're like, "Woof!" You can see the dummy on the, and it's like, "Oh, there she is."
Yeah. So the first medical examiner on the scene was the doctor that lives across the street from the Bordens. And there's a lot of like question about him too.
Yeah.
Because he had done some pretty questionable things, but earlier that day or the day before, Lizzie had gone to try to buy, what is it? Prussic acid? It's some poison.
It's a poison, but it was to clean silver.
Right. And they didn't have enough. They didn't have it for her.
Or no, you had to have a prescription to get it, and she didn't have a prescription. She was just trying to say, "I'm just using it to clean silver."
So this is one of the first things that's like really sketchy about Lizzie's storyline is that she was looking for poison, which is okay. And then how she kind of reacted to the whole murder was a little bit weird too. Like we said, when they were like, "Oh, your mother is upstairs dead," and she was like, "Oh, that's not my mother, that's my stepmother." Instead of being like sad, she kind of like
what if she was on the spectrum?
I mean, she
There's
could
also
have.
stuff like that we don't think
Who
about.
knows?
I don't know.
The next day, they basically say, "We think it's you, Lizzie."
And
So we're gonna house watch. You're on house watch.
there's the paint situation.
Yes. One of the weird things about the case that also is a red flag, Lou just talked about, she burned the dress.
She was caught burning.
Yeah, caught burning a dress like 2 days after the murders. And she was burning it because there was red paint on it. And her friend, the one that she called, caught her and then tattled on her because she was like, "Okay, I'm not going to be a part of this," which ruined their friendship. And she then said, "Well, no, I just was burning the dress because it had paint on it." And she even had the dressmaker have an alibi for that. The dressmaker was like, "Oh, yeah, there was blood on it." I mean, there was paint on and not blood.
Yeah, she was trying it on and did a spin and there was paint and she got it on her dress. And I just told her to take it home, try to see if she could get it out. I guess she couldn't, so she decided to burn it.
And one of the things Lainey told us, the tour guide, was it's interesting at that time period that anyone would ever burn a dress because usually you would take off the buttons, you would
salvage whatever you could. Whatever fabric that didn't have paint on it, you would likely reuse.
Yeah, cut out the part that had the paint on it, throw that away, use the rest. So this is suspicious.
I guess she probably was like, well, I'm about to come into some money, so I guess it doesn't really matter.
Whatever. But in the end, she went and stayed in this prison, but it wasn't really a prison. She like had a bed and a couch and got tea. And I mean, it was literally like she was on a stay vacation. They're like, you have to stay in this room, but here's like a really nice place to stay.
It's like when I think, have you guys ever seen the show Rain? Mm-mm. It's about Mary, Queen of Scots. Anyways, at one point, Queen Elizabeth is in quote unquote jail going to get beheaded, and she is practicing her beheading. So she's kneeling on this like plush place where she can lay her head down, but it's full of all of these cushions and lavish food, and there's a lamb leg, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, suffering
this
so
is
much.
Prison. I'm so sorry.
Also, she was like high the whole time because they were giving her medication to calm her, and she stayed on that medication the whole time she was in jail. So she was as high as a kite, which is not great to like medicate someone without their permission.
And they're not going to give you the responses that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like if you're high out of your mind, you're not processing that you're being on trial for murder.
I mean, I guess one theory could be that like, we'll make her really high so that her, what's that? I don't know. So she's more apt to give information. Yeah. Lower her inhibitions.
I was going to say libido, and that was not correct.
It's the opposite.
No.
I knew I would get there eventually.
I think that's funny because the fact that she maintained that she didn't do it throughout the entire trial was interesting, considered that her inhibitions were lowered.
But in the end, she went to trial, and there was no real proof that they never
found a weapon.
Yeah, no
they
weapon.
They never found bloodstained clothes. She had an alibi.
If she had bloodstains clothes, like the only clothes that they had were the ones she burned, which she said were paint. The fact that she wasn't covered in blood, it was a big factor. I think that's the one that like everyone was like, if she had done this murder, she would have been covered in blood.
Yeah.
And there was no time for her.
Or even time for her just to change out of her dress.
Yes.
Right.
Because when the father was found, the timeline just didn't match up for her to actually do it. Yeah. So this is the information that we have. We know that Lizzie was acquitted. She lived a long life after. Her and her Emma got all of their father's money, and they lived a pretty happy life until they died an elderly age. I think she lived up to 66. The only thing that Lizzie did not really have after all of this was people still didn't really like her.
Yeah, she was an outcast for the rest of her life. And even Emma left her. She lived with her for a while, and then in 1905 actually left, and they apparently never spoke again.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
I know.
And then Lizzie died in 1927.
And 9 days later,
Emma died.
Which is really weird.
It's also a very important detail that we left out. The only reason Emma and Lizzie got the money, and the reason why Lizzie is such a big suspect, is because it was very clear that Abby was murdered first. And so if it were in question at all, if they thought Andrew was murdered first, then all of his money would go to Abby.
And then it would have gone to Abby's descendants, not Emma and Lizzie.
Correct. So it's everywhere. You see, it was very clear that Abby was murdered first because her blood was congealed around her, and then Andrew was. So there would not be a mistake at all, and that the money belonged to Andrew's family.
Yes. And it's not a big theory that's discussed, but Lainey, our tour guide, told us a lot about it. I think it's just one of her main theories is that it was the Uncle John who had come to visit. He had a soft spot for his nieces. He loved his sister. And he had also this like most in-depth alibi. He was like, I was on a bus with 6 rabbis. Here's all the rabbis' first and last names.
Yeah, a horse and carriage. Yeah. They didn't have buses yet.
You're right. Sorry. To the point where they're like, okay, dude, can you not give us so much information about your day?
Well, and it was how he gave his alibi. Like, I'm pretty sure he was walking up to the house and there was a police officer out there.
Was he eating a pear? What's up with this pears?
I know, and it was something, and the police officer was like, "Hey, man, how you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I've been great. I was just took a streetcar with 6 rabbis."
Yeah, like
He's like, here you go. Let me tell you my whole life story. We just met. Why are you? Doesn't even ask why are you here.
Exactly. Here's
Like,
all my
okay.
alibi. So the running theory is that the possibility of Lizzie getting her uncle to commit the crime, but she was like the puppeteer behind it. And maybe even Emma, who knows? Maybe the sisters both were like, I'm going to leave town. I don't know for sure. Emma kind of seemed more like of a Mickey Mouse character, like who Mickey Mouse. A meek mouse.
Don't come after
Mickey
us,
Mouse.
Disney.
That reminds me of New Girl. Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse. Remember the Russian supermodel? Okay. If you know, you know.
If you don't know, you should.
Yeah, Schmidt.
Sorry.
It's okay. We'll show you tonight.
Okay.
And so the idea is that maybe he came in, he killed both the people. Lizzie knew what was happening, but went to get her alibi out in the barnyard. And then in the end, like everyone who kind of helped Lizzie with her alibi was also had a lot of benefits after she was acquitted.
They were rewarded.
The dressmaker got her own house. The uncle who maybe
Got his
killed
cattle
got his
deal.
cattle. He got lots of money from the girls. All the people on the jury that said she was innocent also, like, she would throw a party every year for them. She like gave them money.
They
It
were
just,
like best friends. It's actually wild.
and it just is like, for me, I just don't know how it's possible that she was not somehow involved in this.
Yeah.
And then that also begs the question. So her uncle was on their side. The dressmaker was helpful. The jurors are trying to help her out. Why?
But money. You
Money-
look at someone and say, "Hey, I will buy you a house if you say I had red paint on me."
Yeah.
And Andrew wasn't a well-liked person. He was like kind of grumpy.
I know. Well,
Nobody,
that's what I'm
nobody like
saying.
was like, "Yo, I love Andrew."
Exactly,
but
that's what I'm saying.
But doesn't
It's like,
necessarily
the
mean
community
he
doesn't
deserve to be murdered.
Exactly, no
Yeah.
one deserves to be brutally murdered. But you know, it's kind of feeding into that narrative of she did the community quote unquote a favor, which she did not. Let's
Right.
be very
Which,
clear. But
you know, is interesting that she was also shunned though too. So
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it doesn't seem like the Borden family in general was liked by
Yeah,
anyone.
she wasn't really liked
Yeah.
either, though.
But like thinking about Uncle John could easily be manipulated through letters of Lizzie and Emma just writing, "Father did this, Father
Right.
did that,"
Yeah.
you know, and could really like
Absolutely.
convince Uncle John to just
Because like if
feed
Uncle
into
John
that.
did that, it was a lot of rage.
Yeah.
So
Right.
rage against Andrew, maybe rage against Abby because they
And,
took the place
yeah.
of her sister after. Like
I
who
wonder
knows?
if like Lizzie and Emma had talked about like certain things that Abby had done or maybe not had done, but made
Right.
up about her.
Made up.
Right.
And I also think talking about the spectrum, like Andrew is for me is that ideal person. Like
Yeah.
that very shy, quiet, grumpy, want to be by myself in my house with
Very
my money.
practical.
Very practical. Like for me, he was more that kind of person that's like, I don't really care if anybody likes me. I'm happy doing this.
Yeah.
I'm happy providing my girls what I think they need. Abby and his relationship wasn't like a super loving one. It was more of a practical one too. Kind of talking about how she married in and he took care of her. Like it just seems like he's the kind of person that just like, I'm just going to take care of you, but I'm not a very loving person. So
Right.
maybe he didn't
Right.
give Abby and Emma
yeah.
the love they thought they should have. He kind of just was that standby. I'll stand by you and give what you need, but I can't really provide you with the emotional love that you maybe are craving.
Yeah.
And Uncle
Yeah.
John can maybe. I don't know. Like this is the kind of conundrum of
Yeah.
this story. It's like
Yeah.
there are so many unknowns. There is no way to prove this. We can't dig up their bodies and I mean I don't know. There's no way that this can be figured out. Lizzie was acquitted. The murderer got away in the end. If you
Yes.
believe this
I
happened,
mean, no one was ever charged
No
for
one was
this
ever
crime.
charged.
So yes, the
Murderer got away.
the murderer got away. And if it was Lizzie, the murderer got away.
Yes.
right.
Right.
And
in
I
the
think
end.
in the end too, she got what she wanted because
Exactly.
she got her house on the hill. She got Maplecroft, and she lived out the rest of her days with all of her pets. And she gave to those who helped her, like we talked about with the jurors and the dressmaker and people that helped her. At the same time, like she was alone. And I think because she grew up that way, also seeing Andrew as like one of that prime example. Like she probably just wanted that too.
Yeah. And it is sad because like she might have gotten what she wanted, but in the end though, being so outcast, the rhyme we said at the beginning is a very popular kids rhyme that they would chant outside her house, and it's incorrect, like the wax, but it's this rhyme, and they would sit out her house and they would throw things. I mean, she was the lady on the hill, the witch of the community.
But she also did a lot for the community, like we were talking about, like the animal shelters, and she did she bake for children?
Yeah, she loved kids. And animals.
But this was her relationship with kids was before the murders. She was like in Sunday school teacher and all that stuff.
I think she carried that out.
Maplecroft was more of like, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Was like an open home for people to like.
Well, it was for the unlikable people too. It was more of the like rougher end of the
Yeah.
That she had parties for, and people were like, "Why are you letting all these ruffians into your house?"
I remember Lainey saying something too about like, yes, like the kids would throw rocks and like say that rhyme outside of her house, but she would still bake them stuff and be like, here you go. Like, you know,
she didn't have malice in her heart.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe she saw it as like, they're just kids. They don't understand. Maybe she was just accepting it as like, this is part of my fate for what I did.
Because she even like her church, she like donated a bunch of money to the church. And at the same time, they were like, thank you, but we don't want you to come to our church. Mm-hmm. Like there was just a lot of like hate after her, even though she was acquitted.
Yeah.
So I think everyone kind of was like, we might not be able to prove you did this, but we all know you did.
Yeah.
I think that was the vibe of the town.
Yeah.
And I think that's the vibe of the museum too. I mean, there is tons of stuff there. An axe. The murder weapon was never an axe. They found an axe. It was a hatchet in the basement, but it had animal hair on it and blood. Anyways, no one knows what weapon was used. That's never been found. Mm-hmm. The idea is that everyone kind of is on the side of maybe Lizzie did this, but we can't prove it, but we're going to lean into this. Movies lean into it, that she did it. A lot of people who talk about it. If you don't even know Lizzie Borden, you know just a little bit about her. It's that she killed her parents, right? That's
I don't know. The more I think about this case, the more I'm starting to like lean on paranormal evidence. So I'm really excited for us to get our pictures developed.
Oh my God.
But also, if you guys haven't seen Glam and Gore or Mikey on YouTube, they do this whole ghost exploration of the Lizzie Borden house, and they do this interview with a spirit box. And there is a very clear moment where they ask who killed Andrew and Abby, and the spirit box replies, it was John. And it says it so clearly. It's kind of crazy. But they're staying in the John Morse room where Abby was murdered.
Well, and if Abby and John...
shout out to Glam and Gore. You should go watch it if you haven't.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. We should watch that.
Yeah, we should.
But I think if Abby and Andrew were killed by John, that's what they would have seen. They would have no idea that their daughter was a part of it too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, to live with that, like, who killed you? Well, John did.
Right.
John killed me.
I want to say, too, I don't think that Lizzie is blameless.
Yeah.
I really don't. I do think that she had something to do with it. I think some of the behaviors that happened, like, after the murders and, like, during her trial are strange, but I think they can also be chalked up to her being on that medication that made her kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's just all the stuff that leading up to it too. Like,
true. Yeah.
Because she wasn't on the medication until she was in the jail.
Right.
And so like her burning her dress, her being weird about her
that
mom.
could be chalked about, like, that could be chalked up. But like, yeah, no, like things that she did before too, who's to say?
Like, I think she physically
No, and I don't
the
either.
murders? No. Do I think she had something to do with it? Absolutely. She had everything to gain.
For me, I had this like talk about paranormal. When I was standing in that room and you see this dummy's body, my view, like I could almost see like this man doing it and Lizzie standing back and watching. You know, like this feeling of her getting this like justification that she wanted or getting finally what she wanted. The fact that there is no empathy for her stepmom who just got killed, that's where it hits me too. Like there is, even if you didn't like the woman and you found out that she got axed 17 times in the back of the head, the first thing you wouldn't say was, oh, it's not my mother, it's my stepmom. I don't know. That's just like
absolutely.
very detached feels a little like psychopathic. Like maybe she just was like, I'm just gonna get what I wanted, and if I has to do this, then I'll have to do this. But we also asked the tour guide about like if she believed Lizzie was in the home, and she said no. So she said sometimes we feel Abby, sometimes we feel Andrew.
So now these days it is a bed and breakfast and a museum. So you can tour the museum, but you can also stay there overnight, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, we should go back and do that.
After Lizzie moved out and moved to Maplecroft, and before it became a bed and breakfast and museum, other people lived here.
Yeah.
And there were people that lived upstairs, different families. I don't know that they were related to the Bordens, but I do remember when we walked upstairs, for all of us, there was some strange feelings.
And walking upstairs, Lainey was telling us, keep an eye on where the door is upstairs and where the lock is. So walking upstairs, and of course we're in freaking New England, so the stairs are so narrow and so steep. And I'm really tall, which that's neither here nor there. My head was basically always touching the ceiling. Anyways, we're walking up.
Again, also because the top floor, the third floor is always the servants' quarters, or that's where the children lived, right?
Yes. So it's like a half floor. So we go up, and as I'm walking upstairs, my chest just feels so heavy. And then you walk up and you look, and it's a door that closes over the floor, and the lock is on the outside of it. So
Bridget was locked up. This is when Bridget lived with the family. This is where she resided, in the servants' quarter, and she would be locked up there sometimes by Andrew. And so that kind of gave that vibe of weirdness. When you see that, you go into Bridget's room, you can, see they have an etching of her tombstone, stuff like that. That's really cool. But then all three of us go into this back room, and there's kids' toys everywhere. And I'm like, I felt so sad. I felt like this weird, like, I don't know, like almost pressure, and this like almost being pulled down. And then Lou told me,
I again had that pressure, like it felt like I was having a hard time breathing, and I was so nauseous. I felt like I was going to throw up. I just did not feel good, like feeling the lightheaded, nausea, feeling like you can't breathe, all of that.
It was the first time I've ever been in a haunted place. I was like, I want to leave right now.
Yes.
Like, I'm not normally that way. Like, I'm very curious. And I was like, I want to just step out of this room. I was okay with upstairs. I wanted to step out of that room. Yeah. Shay was...
I was spending extra time in rooms and taking pictures with the disposable camera, because I wanted to try to see if I could catch anything. And so I was still in Bridget's room when they kind of went towards the back part of the attic. And when you go into Bridget's room, at least for me, like, I didn't feel anything.
Yeah, me either.
I was like, oh, okay, like this is where Bridget lived, like, great. But once you kind of like go back towards that back area, I mean, it really changed. I felt the same thing, that heaviness, that like just not necessarily darkness, but it just felt really heavy. And I hadn't even felt that the first time I'd gone up there.
Or in the house at all.
Right. It felt like thick. Like, I don't know, is that a good word?
Yes.
Like, it felt thick to walk into there.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And we all felt this before the tour guide Lainey told us anything. She said, do you guys feel weird up here? And we're like, like, yeah.
How did you know?
She then told us that across the street, there was a mother who had postpartum and chose to drown her 3 children in the well across the street. I mean, you can still go visit that well. It's a family's home now, but they're very, they'll let you come see it. We didn't do that. I think we felt weird about the room. I have kids. It felt weird. I was like, I don't know if I want to go experience that energy. But it was really weird for her to say that, and especially feeling like she couldn't breathe. The idea of someone drowning you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like those kids having that sadness, and they kind of see us, and they just kind of, that energy just is there. That feeling of being... I'm sorry, this is my cat, Charlie. She's way louder than Cleo, and she really wants out. Go ahead. She's up. Let me out. Okay. She has now exited the room.
And Cleo is like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys?
Cleo is still in here in her cat bed. But yeah, like it was a very interesting
really
first
intense. Yeah. And I I've never felt like anything like that. I don't want to say I'm a skeptic, but I'm not a skeptic. I believe in everything.
But you haven't anything happen to you extremely like, oh, this is the paranormal.
Yes. I personally have never had anything happen to me paranormally. And then
Other than the light switch at your creepy grandma's house.
okay, yes, that was so.
That's another story.
That's another story for another time. That was so freaking scary. But yeah, I had never felt like anything like that before, and which it's funny with my stomach. So prior to going to Salem, I came off a week where I was sick for a full week. I had the stomach flu. I could not keep food down. It was awful. 10 out of 10. Do not recommend getting whatever I had. So I was nervous about going on this trip because my belly had been so weird, but I had been doing great for a couple of days. And that was the first time I had felt like that since being sick. And I was like, holy crap, something is wrong with me. And it was such a weird, surreal experience.
But for me too, it did dissipate when I went downstairs.
Yes.
Like the feeling went away.
Almost immediately.
And then we spent an extra $7 to go into the basement, which everyone's like, ew, it's the more creepy place. It's the basement. You know, I hate basements. And we went down there and we're like, the energy was so cool down there.
love
And
this
Lainey's like,
place.
yeah, this is my favorite spot. I hate upstairs. She's like, the top stairs, that room, I do not like going into.
Didn't she say that was the most active?
Yeah, for like investigations. It was really active in there.
Well, and she said like she would come up and there'd be toys where
Just
there
strewn
weren't
about.
toys before.
Well, and there was a photo of a child standing behind the box that she showed us.
yes.
One of the toy boxes, which is a little kid standing back there. Maybe you were in the other room when she showed that. She showed us.
Yeah, I don't think I saw it.
Yeah, and so anyways, and it just was a weird experience, and it all got us excited for the rest of our Salem trip because to have a really fun
was just
paranormal
awesome.
experience
Yeah.
from the get-go was like, woo, 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 let's
was-
do this.
Yeah, it was encouraging. And also, shout out to the basement. They have like this little recording room where people do podcasts. Hey, Lizzie Borden House. We would love to do a podcast there sometime. Love you, Lainey.
Lainey, you can join us. We'll just steal you, bring you back to where we live. Because we love you. We're not actually going to steal
kidnap
you.
you.
Sorry. Well, you look very happy in your life there. Take that out.
Please don't
She's going to call the cops
Surprise
on us.
adoption. I'm pretty sure she's married.
Yeah, she is married.
Sorry, Lainey's partner.
Thank you.
But in the end, the house was great. And the last thing we ended up doing with Lizzie Borden was going to her graveside, which was really fun.
So the gravesite is very interesting. First of all, it's beautiful. That cemetery, there's this gorgeous arch that you can drive through and you can park right in the front. You can also drive around. We did not. We chose to walk and it was very cold. But you can also drive to it and follow the arrows on the ground because Fall River knows people are there to see what's going on.
See, Lizzie?
And they have this giant obelisk that has the Borden's name on it and each of the different graves. So they've got Andrew with both of his wives on either side of him. So Abby on his left, Sarah on his right. And next to Sarah is the youngest child that died. And at Andrew's feet are Lizzie and Emma.
And she asked to be there. She asked if
Lizzie
she'd be buried at her
did-
father's feet.
Yes, Lizzie did ask. And I don't know if Emma did, but that is where they put her. And so there's just this little section just dedicated to their family. It was a really cool experience to be there. I think we all kind of felt we wanted to leave a candle in remembrance, and we all had different ideas of like who we wanted to leave the candle with. We all were like, do we want to leave it with Lizzie? What if she was a murderer? I don't know. Kay was like, what about Andrew? Me and Lou were like, well, what if he was a dick? What?
Right.
And then I was like, well, what about Abby? And
And that's what Abby we felt all kind of pretty good about.
yeah.
You
But
know.
then we eventually decided, like, let's just put it on the Borden obelisk. Like, that feels like a safe place to put it
Yeah.
for the whole family because we do want the whole family to rest. And we pulled out our Ghost Tube app. We did have a little bit of
Interaction.
communication from the other side.
And it was a little bit aggressive towards me, which was interesting. And I think for us,
Yeah.
the first thing that we felt, especially me, like as I was there, because I was being more negative towards Lizzie and not like leaving her a trinket specifically and saying, well, what if she was murdered? Like, do we really want to, condone this and celebrate? And the things we were getting from the spirit box were like, you need to get out of here. And it was
Yeah.
stuff like that. And we're like, it could be another trickster spirit in a graveyard. I mean, obviously there's lots of dead people here.
Right.
But it was very strange and it was very negative. And we're like, okay, well, we're going to do that. I think Kat, our friend, was like, okay, so get out. Let's get out. Like the logical one that's like, let's just listen to it because I don't want an attachment.
Yes.
So yeah, we left the little candle, a little rose candle that we made for the Salem victims as well. And
then we drove by Maplecroft and just saw where Lizzie's last resting place was.
on the hill. Yeah.
On the hill.
Drive all the way up there.
Lizzie, who eventually went by just Lisbeth, not Lizzie, not Elizabeth, but Lisbeth. And that's the grave, or that's the name on the grave that you would see.
So I hope you guys enjoyed listening to us talk about Lizzie and the crime of the century for them in that little small town of
Fall River, Massachusetts.
And it was a good experience, and we really highly recommend going to the Lizzie Borden House if you have the chance.
And requesting Lainey as your tour guide.
Yes, and experiencing what we experienced. I hope you enjoyed listening to us talk about, the paranormal and unique cases. I think this is something we found really fun and might dive into more fun cases that have unknown endings and talk about what we feel.
So with that, keeping up this energy, we're going to do a quick tarot reading to see kind of what kind of energies the card's telling us.
All right, I pulled from our regular deck and I got the 7 of Pentacles reversed, and it said lack of long-term vision, limited success or reward, work without results, distractions.
From our apothecary deck, we pulled Jasmine, and it can be used on the skin for disease and wound healing. It improves mood and reduces stress and acts as a sedative. The magical ways you can use it attracts wealth and money when carried or burned, and it's used to induce prophetic dreams associated with feminine power.
Ooh,
Interesting.
use Jasmine.
And from our mineralogy deck, we drew Opal. It controls your solar plexus, heart, and crown chakras. And its metaphysical meaning induce positive emotions, joy, aura cleansing, inner beauty, loyalty, spontaneity, clarity, healing, passion, eloquence, faithfulness, wisdom, and self-confidence.
Damn.
That's cool. We should use some Opal Jasmines.
Opal jasmines. I love opal jasmines.
Just tie a thing of jasmine around an opal and be like, this is what we're going to use right now. I mean, that sounds pretty dope.
Ooh, a wand with
with
opal in
and
it and jasmine.
We're going to be
Yes.
selling these on our shop that we don't have.
One day.
We don't have one day.
One
We
day
all just
will.
push back our hair behind our ears.
Yes.
What losers. Anyways, guys, we love you. We hope you enjoyed listening to us talk about Lizzie Borden. We are really excited to dive into more stories like this. If you like this, let us know. Give us a thumbs up. We would love to do more cases like this that dive into the unknown murders, paranormal, and all that stuff. Maybe the Melissa Axe murder house next or something like that.
Yeah.
So let us know what you want us to cover in the comments, and maybe we'll dive into that.
Yes, and let us know your thoughts. Who do you think killed Andrew and Abby?
Oh yes. Who do you think? Was it Lizzie?
Who done it? Who done it?
Who
did it?
All right. Well, we're going to thank air, fire, water, and earth. And we thank you for listening to us. The light in me. The light in me sees the light.
The light in me. It's a new song.
A light in me. Sees a light in you.
All right, witchlings. The light in me sees the light in you.
See
Bye.
ya.
Woo. I hope you feel spooky.
Bleep, 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 bleep.
Mow.
Louder.
Mow. Mow, mow, mow.
There you are.
Mow, 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 mow.
Mommy made me mash my M&M. You're welcome.
Did they get mashed?
They mashed them.
Yum. The light in me.
Keep going. I know.
So bad.
I do too. OMG stars.
OMG sters.
I said it.